Hello there, Dr. Sheep here. Welcome back to TGIF Talks, episode 138 or 9. I'm your host, Dr. Sheep, joined by co-host Anonymous Phil.
Yeah.
Let's roll the intro, and there's things to talk about. The guitarist. Well. Gee, there are things to discuss. Gosh, this podcast, folks, was supposed to be done in the middle of nowhere, but then, things happened.
Shit happens.
And now we're back home. So, spoilers, if you have not watched the vlog, or have watched part of the short that will be made on this whole subject. There's lots of content to be made. Which is unfortunate that I'm capitalizing off of my misfortune. But that's the way society needs to be. If you're gonna if you could have died, you need to capitalize off the situation. Mm-hmm. Wouldn't you?
Yeah.
If you had a platform, and you had a situation where you almost died,
yeah.
Wouldn't you capitalize off of that?
Yeah. You make it sound worse than it is. That way.
Well, we do have to We do have to do damage control to what Kyle's been trying to say. He's like, my life was at risk. God, the sob story he told your parents yesterday, I about slugged him.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So, for those of you that have not seen the vlog and don't plan to watch the vlog, here's what happened. We went on an 8-day round trip to see 5 national parks.
Phil's version of the Colorado Grand Tour.
Yeah, Phil's version of the Colorado Grand Tour. We hit up Arizona, and we managed to actually knock off New Mexico. And actually, the thing is, we have to spend like an hour in the state or whatever outside our car in a place of over 5,000 people. We did that, actually. If you look at the amount of time we spent in that Taco Bell and filling up gas, I think we spent an hour in the state.
Yeah.
Damn near. So, yes, we did manage to knock off New Mexico on this trip as well. But I mean, whether Kyle agrees with us or not, he's gonna knock it off this year regardless anyway.
No, I think he said he did do it because we went to Taco Bell.
So he's like, well, it has to be significant. Taco Bell counts?
Yeah, Taco Bell counts.
Did I ever tell you where I got this?
No.
Remember Stinky Girl?
Oh, yeah.
Well, I got this on one of our dates.
From where?
In the parking lot of that putt-putt place.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, I grabbed it. It sat in my center console for a year. And I finally brought it inside when I was cleaning it out the other week. Month. God, that was a while ago. I cleaned that out, actually, at this point. Anyways, well, back to the story. So, we went on a tour. We first headed up to the Great Sand Dunes. I didn't get a map because I was grumpy, and I had to walk through hot-ass, great, coarse sand, and then, It
was better than having sand in the shoes.
True. Well, no, it was better than water. I didn't mind getting sand in the shoes because that can easily be, removed.
It was the water.
It was the water that we'd have to walk in for the rest of the day.
Yeah. And
possibly the next day while we were in Black Canyon.
Yeah, I should have brought my sandals.
Yeah. Well, we had sandals, but I don't think that still wouldn't have helped. You still would have had to dig through the frickin' sand.
Oh, it would have been a little difficult to walk.
You want closed-toe shoes.
You need water shoes.
That, yes. If you go in June. So basically, the sand dunes in June have water run through the bottom of them. And the only way to get to the dunes, then, is to walk through said water. And so, our cousin, when we talked about the dunes, she was like, why'd you guys take your shoes off? And then we told her about the water, and she's like, how deep was it? And we're like, ankle deep in places. And she's like, oh. Because I don't think, when she went, I don't think the water was there, as I had suspected. Which is why she had such a great time.
She must have went in, August?
Yeah.
She also said that we should have got there earlier. Well, I mean, we couldn't really. That would have been leaving even earlier.
Yeah.
That way we could go sandboarding.
Yeah.
That does sound fun, though, sandboarding.
Off one of the short ones, yes. But then getting back up.
Yeah.
Can you imagine us trying to figure out a sandboard?
Well, I think it'd be easier than... I feel like it'd be easier than trying to surf. Because as soon as you fall in the water, you have to regain your balance.
Right.
And it'd be easier than skateboarding because you don't have to worry about, laying on concrete.
Right. Right. However, between water and concrete, it's a little easier than following on concrete, but it's still going to hurt a lot more than water.
Yeah, it is sand.
And you're also locked into the board, I think, a bit more than you are in sand. Than water, because I think they work like snowboards almost. At least some of them.
We put your feet in a
little stirrups.
Mm-hmm.
But anyways, we went to the Great Sand Dunes, stayed in Alamosa. The next day, we went up to Black Canyon National Park.
Yeah.
Which was probably, I think, everybody's favorite national park.
Yeah.
Well, no, I think Kyle liked Mesa Verde more.
I think he did too. Yeah.
But I liked Black Canyon. We then stayed in Cortez that night.
Mm-hmm.
We went to Mesa Verde.
Yep.
Where did we stay? And then after Mesa Verde, did we drive all the way to Arizona?
No. Yeah, that's when we did Telluride and all that.
Where did we stay? No, so we were in
Montrose.
Montrose, that's where so after Mesa Verde, we stayed in Montrose. The next day, we drove down to Holbrook, Arizona, but we went through Telluride.
And Canyon de Shelly.
Yeah, we also went to Canyon de Shelly. Very interesting part of the trip. Went from the richest part of the country to the poorest part of the country. Where you had all the amenities, and then there were negative amenities. where there were signs that said, please lock car, or you will be robbed.
Yeah, negative amenities.
Negative amenities. That's what that's referring to.
Yep.
We stayed in Holbrook, and then the next day we went and we spent the whole day at Petrified Forest. Yeah. And actually, because of what time we had to go camping, we still couldn't actually see the entire park.
Yeah, so I was thinking, what is the best way to hit up national parks? With all the driving, because we lost like half a day, driving because we didn't get there till like 11 to all the parks.
Right.
I was like, would it have been easy? Would it have been better, to leave after each park and drive to the next one? Well, then you're getting there at midnight, and then trying to wake up at 6 a.m. is going to be rough. So it's like, I think the best way to do it is to plan like a day and a half at each park. You have a full day, so basically you drive down there. You have your first half day, so you drive down there in the morning, then you take a half day to kind of scope it out, see what all you want to do, and then you have a full day the next day.
Yeah, probably.
That way the next day you have a full day to do everything, because your first half day just kind of figuring it out.
Although Mesa Verde, we went through in a...
Yeah, some of the parks, like, I guess Black Canyon, we were able to do pretty much everything. There was only like one trail we didn't go down. Yeah,
which we then learned we kind of could have. But although, the thing is, though, it was like 6 miles, he said, of 16% grade.
Yeah, which is why we didn't do it.
Yeah. There's a part of Black Canyon. Basically, you see the whole park really easy, no problems. Except for there's one trail where you get to actually beat the bottom of the canyon. But you have to drive to get down there. And, it...
16% grade,
which
very loop-de-loop.
Yep, and we did end up going down a 14% grade, unintentionally, but it was for a lot shorter distance than 6 miles. Mm-hmm. Basically, on our way to Holbrook, Arizona, and, well, technically on our way to Canyon de Shelly, we could have actually gone through a much nicer part of New Mexico, but, why not? Why not go through the sketchy part? And we had to go over a mountain for no reason, I really think, other than the engineer of the roads were like, go around the mountain or go through mountain?
Through.
It takes same amount of time on road. You know what, guys? We're going to go over it. and we had to go down to 14% grade. Just, oh my God! And we're in the middle of nowhere, right? This isn't the part I'm talking about where we almost died. No, we were quite safe, but we had to put her in low gear. We were in the middle of nowhere. There's no cell phone reception. I think all of our phones were dying at this point during the trip, and yeah, it was concerning because there's just nothing, and there's just this.
No, it was.
So yeah, so then the following day, we spent it in the petrified forest, which was definitely did not need an entire. I mean, we did end up needing an entire day.
Yeah.
But in reality, it really didn't.
If you don't plan on camping, you don't need. Well, you need a full day to see everything, but
honest to
you don't
God,
need more than a day.
Yeah, but honest to God, though, a lot of that's just seeing more of the canyon.
Yeah.
Which the painted desert, which
I suppose
I've seen too much of it.
It's one of those places where after about an hour or two, you feel like you've seen everything. It's just more logs and painted sand.
Yeah. Realistically, you walk one or two trails and then you go look at the canyon and you're done.
Mm-hmm.
You really could, if you wanted to see absolutely everything, you could spend a whole day there, but in reality, there's no need.
Yeah. I mean, there was a few cool trails, though, like the newspaper rock.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
They have little petroglyphs on there.
Yeah.
So you could re-see the petroglyphs.
Woo! More petroglyphs that we didn't see at Mesa Verde. There's a story about Mesa Verde. Anyway, we'll get into the actual nitty-gritty details of each one of these days later on. So, bad stuff happened that night. We'll get into that later. The next day, we leave. I cry. We go to...
We drove all the way up to
Longmount, yeah,
Longmount.
or outside of Longmount,
yeah.
in between Denver and Longmount.
The weirdest thing, so that was an 11-hour drive, but it didn't feel like it. I don't know.
Well, I slept through most of it.
There was right after lunch. It was that was a little rough, just because I was a little
tired.
You know, just that feeling of just eating or whatever. You just
but we took those stops like you wanted.
Yeah, but after those stops and a drink of water, I was like, I felt great.
Yeah.
I thought I was gonna need some 5-hour energy or something. No, just some water, and I was good to go.
Yeah. Well, I cried for the first hour.
Yeah.
But then after that, I took a nap, had a pickle, and life was good again.
Life was good again. Sometimes all you need is a nap and a pickle.
Suffering from PTSD and a traumatic experience, and all you need is a pickle and a nap.
Sometimes all you... Yeah, that should be like a
soldiers come back from war.
Sometimes all you need in life is a nap and a pickle.
Soldiers coming back from war, they're just like, I've seen things. I can't go through this again.
How does a nap and a pickle
their wife's
sound?
like, here's a pickle. Go take a nap. I'll come back in an hour.
I'll come back in an hour.
Seriously, we shouldn't be laughing about that, but it did help. I mean, obviously, I still couldn't talk about the experiences for the rest of the day. Or even parts of it the next day. But, yeah, anyways, so the next day, we went up to Rocky Mountains, which literally requires 2 days, and we spent 3 hours.
Oh, yeah.
We realized when we got started, we're like, holy crap, there's so much to see in so little time.
You could probably spend almost a week there, I bet. Just because there's so many trails.
Yeah, there was so much to see and so much...
But I've had 2 full days, and you could see a lot of the major stuff.
You could just spend a whole day driving through the park.
Yeah.
There just wasn't enough time just to drive through the whole park.
And if you do want to do that, you do need a pass to go down the Bear Lake Road.
Oh, yeah. If you want to go see Bear Lake, which I think is my sign over here, the picture for Rocky Mountain National Park is Bear Lake or Emerald Lake. Probably Bear Lake.
Yeah.
So, keep that in mind.
That's what I did my first time. We went to Emerald Lake.
Yeah.
And Bear Lake was right there, but we also went to Emerald Lake.
Yeah. But so that must be the nicest part of the thing. I mean, don't get me wrong, we did see some mountain sheep, bighorn sheep. I say not mountain sheep. We got to see some bighorn sheep.
Mm-hmm.
Still haven't figured out what variety we saw. We saw 3 different varieties at the museum later that night, and still couldn't figure out which variety we saw.
Yeah.
So.
Oh yeah, and you could spend an entire day. Well, I mean, we could spend an entire day.
Well, we're getting to that. So that day, we then had lunch with our cousin. Had some nice Papa John's pizza. I swear to God, I thought I was going to have my debit card information stolen because it sounded like I was just talking to a call center. Didn't sound like I was talking to Papa John's, but that must be the way they do it. They must have a call center, take your order, and send it to the restaurant, which honestly is genius. I just never experienced that before.
Yeah.
It's genius, by the way, because now you don't have some lackey being like, it's just Papa John's pizza. Now you can literally you can take hundreds of orders all at once. You can take like a stupid amount of orders all at once, which increases the demand for each restaurant, but increases profitability, which means you could probably pay the people a bit more, or just hire more people or build more. Anyways, capitalism aside.
But thankfully, she kicked us out when we did, because we did all the time at the museum.
Yeah, we went to the Denver Natural History Museum, which...
Nature and History.
Yeah,
Nature and Science.
We still didn't see it. I still don't think we saw everything.
No, we didn't. We didn't even go through the health exhibit, which when I went through with my friends, that was a really cool thing. But I mean, you had to do make a little personal card or whatever.
Yeah.
But it tracks, it tells you about your heartbeat or whatever, how you walk, you're swaying too much to the one side or anything. There's also another thing that shows what you could look like 70 years from now.
Great. Can't wait. What'd you look like?
I honestly didn't look like much changed. I think I was too young or something, but I honestly looked the same. All I did was add a few wrinkles, but I looked the same. But you can add obesity to it.
Of course
you can see who you look like as 70 years old and obese.
I'll probably look like my grandfather. I don't need to look like that. Anyways, we could spend an entire day at the museum. Part of the problem was the stupid impact crater exhibit. I think we spent an hour at that alone.
Oh, yeah. just the most simplest thing. And we spent so long there.
Well, that and then trying to pilot the freaking spacecraft.
Oh, yeah.
I think literally you'd have to do the one that we were doing, because I think the other ones must be easier. We must be doing the hardest one.
We also spent a lot of time at the gems.
That's true. Well, the gems were really interesting.
The gems were really interesting. But, I mean, I think that's where the bulk of our time was spent.
True. Well, that's when we realized that time was starting to fly, and we didn't have a lot of time left.
Yeah.
And we didn't even go to the gift shop. Poor Kyle, I think, was pretty... I think by the next day, that's why he was so pissed off with us, because we, just didn't let him do what he wanted to do.
Yeah, but he never mentioned anything about the gift shop. Well, he wanted to go to the gift shop, but, throughout the thing, he never said, let's go to the gift shop. He said, let's go to the gift shop at the very end.
He also said at the very beginning, we're like, oh, well, it'll be fine. It's probably open until 9. It was not.
Oh.
It's only open till 10, which we didn't know.
No, I thought they were open till 5.
Yeah, 5, sorry.
Yeah, the museum closed at 9.
Yeah. How are we supposed to know? There's no big sign that says, hey, it closes before the museum closes. I mean, it's probably a given, but
yeah.
I don't know. Then also, the place is huge. It's also the most convoluted layout I have ever seen in a museum. If you get confused by the dinosaur part, wondering what happened to the Triassic and the Jurassic periods, it's reserved for one thing with an Allosaurus and a Stegosaurus. So only the Triassic. The Jurassic just doesn't exist. The rest is the Cretaceous period. So keep that in mind.
Yeah.
And then, obviously, there's a lot on the current era of the human era.
Oh, and then they had a really cool Egyptian exhibit.
Yeah, which Kyle didn't like.
He didn't. He takes offense to everything.
Oh my God, he takes offense to Hunter and Thinker, which we'll also get into. But there's so much to talk
Literally
about.
anything that could be controversial, he takes offense to.
Yeah, he was like, it was weird, right? The stance he took on the Egyptian thing, it's not because, like, even the country themselves want to dig these places up and actually want to investigate these things. And he says no.
Yeah.
So even the people themselves, which he says, oh, they're too disconnected from it. They're doing this. He's taking the side of the extinct people.
Yeah.
The extinct religion. People that don't exist anymore. People that don't worship these things anymore. Completely extinct and eradicated, in the past 1,000 years. And he's taking their side in the story. Which is fair. But your people's been wiped out for 1,000 years. And when the current people in your country who, are the direct descendants of these people don't seem to care, it's like, how can I go along with Kyle's statement on us when it's like not even the rulers of the country care?
Yeah.
The archaeologists, the people who actually care about these artifacts and things, are the ones that are like, we gotta learn more.
Yeah.
But anyways, so what happened at the park? Well, it all starts with camping at the Petrified Forest. So here it begins. So basically, we found out, we knew we had to hike a mile. We didn't know what that meant. We thought because it's a desert, it would be a straight shot, you hide behind a sand dune.
That's how they made it sound online.
And that's what it made it sound like online, too. In reality, you have to hike down a canyon.
I think if we didn't have to hike down and it was just walk out and walk around all that and walk through the wash, it would have been much easier.
Mm-hmm.
But just the first part, having to hike down the canyon, that instantly took all the energy out of us.
And fun.
Energy and fun.
Zapped all the energy and fun. So then we get not even a half mile, according to the guide. Not even a half mile away, and we're like, screw this. It's a 20-minute walk. It's taking us 20 minutes to get to this
We were
point.
walking for like 20, 30 minutes or something.
Yeah.
Well, we were walking longer than that because we started our time after we got down.
Right. Yeah.
We started our time after we got down, and we walked for another 20 minutes. And then we got behind a big old mountain where we were completely out of sight from everything. We figured it was good enough.
We set up the tent, and they wanted to go back, and this is the part where we were going to
Well, we needed to go back. Our bedding was back there.
Right. They need to retrieve their bedding. I had my stuff, which is the most ironic part of this whole story. Well, this whole story is ironic, right? Because if anybody... So... Irony. It's all irony. The whole story is ironic. Literally every single part of it is just like, seriously? But it's just everything kind of just aligned together.
Yeah.
For the worst possible
It's
thing.
like literally you were making jokes about how I am the navigator. I am the
navigator.
And it's like literally when we went by ourselves to go get the bedding, came back, no problem. But when the navigator goes out
by himself.
Well,
that's the other. I think that was the big issue. Is I went by myself.
It also got dark.
Yeah, because the shadows changed. That was part of
it. If it wasn't dark, you would have found the end, and then you could have found your way back.
Possibly, because that was the other issue, right? I spent so much time just trying to find you guys.
Yeah.
Which it wasn't like I could see the inn, so I knew where the inn was. But I spent so much time trying to find you guys that I got so turned around doing that and trying to stay in eyesight of the inn that's what happened. So basically, they go back to get their bedding. And this is where we were debating whether we want to do the podcast. We're super tired at this point. We're like, screw it. Don't bring my chairs. Don't bring the chairs. Just get your bedding. We'll call it.
I'm glad we didn't, because we would have had to make 2 trips.
The next day, which would have been...
if we brought the chairs, we would have had to make 2 trips.
Yeah, which would have been an impossibility the next day. Anyways, so then they come back, and I was laying in the tent for 40 minutes waiting for them. I even climbed up on the ridge in front of our tent to look at them with the binoculars, which was kind of fun. I wish I had brought those, because then I really wouldn't have gotten lost. Actually, well, I still wouldn't have been able to find the tent, but I would have been able to stay in contact with the inn.
Yeah.
I could have done a much more efficient scanning of the area with my binoculars. But I did not. Also, that would have made for a nice, at least a much better time on the side of that hill. Like, what are you doing? Oh, just looking through binoculars, waiting for, help.
Yep.
Anyways, so they come back, and I'm like, I don't like to look at these clouds. Did you check the weather? And they're like, no, the weather said it was fine yesterday.
Yeah.
And I wanted to make sure. So I hiked back. I took a different route to get back. That should have been clue number 1, that I should not have done with this. It was a bad idea. Well,
why did you take a different route?
So what
was it unintentionally, or did you intend to take a different route?
Well, okay, so the first part of the route was intentional, but the second part of the route was unintentional.
Oh.
So the first part of the route, where I, instead of climbing up through all the rocks in the wash, they went around the wash. That was intentional. And then I made my way back down into the wash, but then I got off the wash because I was looking, because I didn't realize that had I just kept going, the path comes down this way. I thought it went off to the west when the entrance is off to the east. And so I went around trying to meet up with it west when I realized, oh shit, it doesn't do that, but I met it up like halfway up the canyon at that point. I climbed till I got service. I checked my phone. I was running low on water. Not low, but I had less than half my water left at that point. Checked the forecast. There wasn't going to be any rain, so I was like, no rain, but I could see rain. Alright, I guess this is all null and void. Do I go get water? And I'm like, no, I know how to get back. Well, I don't know what happened. I do not know how, but I took a different path. I followed the wash, and I saw the trail that went off to the right. I went, and then the wash went off. Sorry. There's a trail that went off to the left, off to the west. The wash went off to the east. I went north. And I think that's what happened. I went north, had to climb up the side of a thing, and from that point on, I was lost. Now, I wasn't always entirely lost during this hour-and-a-half excursion of being lost, because I knew at the top of the canyon, I could get help or at least find my way back to the car. So I wasn't lost. It wasn't like, oh my god, I'm in the middle of the forest, I have no idea what direction home is, and be stuck. No, I knew if I went south, got up the side of the canyon, got to the road, I was going to be okay. So I wandered the desert for an hour and a half. I had like this much water left, and I was panicking. I could not find them, and I thought I could see the inn, but then when I started climbing the side of the canyon to, get service to call 911 because I was severely dehydrated and had no idea, and it was dark. It was getting dark at this point. I realized, crap, I have no idea where the inn is anymore. That was the big issue, is when I realized, when I climbed up the tree, I started sitting there talking to the 911 operator, and I realized, oh shoot, that's not the inn. And that's when I really started to panic, because now I had no idea where I was. And so I was trying to figure out, where are you in the park? I'm like, I don't know anymore.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't think to freaking look at Google and be like, oh yeah, I'm here, which is eventually kind of how they ended up finding me. They're like, can you send me a location on Google? I'm like, let me figure that out. Thank God for smartphones. Otherwise, had it been with regular cell phones, it would have taken a lot longer for them to find me.
Yeah.
But anyways, what happened was I wandered the desert for an hour and a half. I climbed the side of a canyon. I could only get halfway because I was out of water, and not completely out, but I didn't want to consume the rest of my water. And then, God knows how long I was going to end up sitting there and not have water for that, which I ended up sitting there for an hour and a half without water. Why they never rolled the water down to me, I don't know. When they were trying to figure out what to do, I'll never understand that part.
Yeah.
But, no, I sat on the side of a canyon for 3 hours waiting for the troopers and the EMTs to come find me. They got me some water. They were like, you're going to have to get yourself out of this. I'm like, I knew I could because I was just tired, and I had finally been sitting for 3 hours. My strength was kind of back. I just needed water. And they got me my water. I got up. And out of the canyon, I was literally like 50 yards from the damn road, which I knew. I was like, I've got to be like 25 yards from the top, 50 yards from the frickin' road total. And I was. And I knew that. But I just didn't have any energy or water left. And, well, we then slept the night in the car. But we did do some stargazing.
This is true.
That 3 hours on the side of the bank, that was some pretty nice stargazing, I'd have to say.
Yeah. That was the first time I don't know if I've ever seen the Milky Way
so bright
as clouds.
Yeah.
Because in Mullen and everything, it was just like there's this band of bright white stars. You know?
Yeah,
it's
right.
like that's the Milky Way. This band, this sea of stars, and then you go up there. It's like it's a cloud.
Yeah, yeah.
It wasn't even cloudy.
Last time we were in Mullen, I got the vibe. So when we first saw it, when we like went and it like almost like showed up like a spotlight in Mullen last time, that's when I kind of realized it's more of it kind of looked more like a cloud. And so then when we went, and the only time I realized I was looking at the Milky Way, like I knew it was gonna be where it was supposed to be. It wasn't until when they were shining their lights looking for me, and the lights went away, I realized. Oh, and there was like still like a brightness left there. I'm like, oh shit, there's the Milky Way.
It was a cloud, and that was like, wow.
Yeah, it was super
clear.
Yeah, super clear.
It was a little hazy at the horizon.
Right.
But other than that,
yeah.
Well, I think it was also cloudy. But other than that, the sky was incredible.
It certainly was. We saw pretty much every star in Ursa Major.
Yep.
Which is crazy, because we're not like, oh, you're talking about the Big Dipper. No, I'm talking like the bear's legs. Like, I actually saw the damn bear's legs and went, oh my god, I could see how you get a bear out of that.
Mm-hmm.
Which is wild, because I've never been able to look at a constellation like that and be like, oh yeah. You know, usually I'm like, I think I see it, but like, I don't know, whatever it was this night, the conditions were just right where, and I sat there for, I guess, I stared at it for 3 hours, I guess. Mm-hmm. But, yeah. No. So, after sitting there for 3 hours, it was great stargazing otherwise.
Mm-hmm.
But we learned, so then the next morning, we spent the night in the car because they were like, you guys aren't going to hike back down there, are you?
Yeah.
And we're like, not really. And they're like, all right, well, you can sleep in your car. I don't care. Or you can go find a hotel. The thing is, you won't be able to get back into the park until 7.
Yeah, yeah.
And we're like, shoot. So we stayed in the car. That way we could hike down to the bottom of the canyon. We hiked down there. It got hot really fast.
Yeah, it was cold, so we dressed warm going down. And then it was hot. Very hot as soon as we got down.
Yeah, that was rough. I was freezing. You know, I was literally shivering all night in the car. And then that morning I'm like, as we're starting to walk down the canyon, I'm shivering as we're going. And then we get to the bottom, it's like, oh, okay, I'm nice and warm. And then we get to the tent, and we start walking back, and I'm like, holy crap, I'm dying. I had to take my pants off to wear only shorts. And then I was so tired from the night before because I'd been shivering all morning, had no energy, still was probably a little dehydrated because I freaking pissed like 3 times that night because they did give me a lot of water to get me hydrated again. Mm-hmm. But I couldn't make it back. I could barely make it back up the one time up to the top. I think part of the problem was I carried the freaking tent by myself for a while.
Yeah.
And that zapped a lot of my energy.
Yeah.
But yeah, I couldn't make it back down to help them get the tent and basket again, which pissed Kyle off. But it's like, sorry, gosh, I was when you guys got back up there, I was like hunched over, like feeling like I was gonna vomit.
But there was no way we would have made a second trip if we had gotten the chairs.
Not a chance. We had to leave them down there. Or ask a park ranger to go get it for us.
Yeah.
But
he wouldn't have known where to go.
No. And he also wouldn't have done it. He'd been like, you guys put your stuff down there, you gotta go get it, otherwise we're giving you a fine.
Yeah.
And it's like...
he wouldn't even known how to... Because, like, the path we took, it would be too difficult to describe.
Yeah. It was, especially since I got lost already once trying to get back down there, let alone try to do it again. So yeah, that was that experience. Not a great time. The stars were great. The sleep was awful. I had a panic. I couldn't sleep for like 3 hours. I was having a panic attack the entire time. I asked I wanted to talk to Kyle so he could help calm me down, but he was like, I don't know how to deal with this. I'm just going to go back to sleep. Which was a dick move. And then proceed to say that I was perfectly fine when talking to his parents and that I was overreacting. I still might punch him the next time I see him.
You should.
I might. He said you wanted to kick me, and he still wants to kick me. I'm going to actually just punch him. I would have laughed. See, here's the thing, though, right? He would have tried to, like, kick me. It wouldn't have gone well for him.
No.
I hope he realizes that any physical altercations with me is not going to end well.
No.
Because I remember the time we tried to wrestle, I literally, snapped the spine over my knee. It did not go well for him, and it wouldn't go well this time. Even if I was dehydrated, I still would have grabbed him by his neck and went like, you want to try that again?
Yeah.
Shake him like a chicken for a little bit. And
Shake him like a chicken.
Baby soft spot on his freaking trachea. You want to try this again?
Babies. Baby soft spot.
Oh man, what a great
Another
reference.
inside joke.